There was once a young couple who lived in a small compound in Lagos. Their names were Chuka and Ifeoma. Ifeoma was the kind of wife many men would be proud of. She was hardworking, neat, and very determined. Every morning she woke up early, tied her wrapper, and hurried to her small shop at the junction where she sold provisions. But Chuka, her husband, was very different. He was a man who believed that work was unnecessary. While other men were up by 6 o'clock, leaving the house for their jobs, Chuka stayed in bed. By 10 o'clock, while the sun was already shining brightly, he would still be fast asleep, snoring loudly. Sometimes he slept with one leg hanging off the bed and his mouth wide open. When Ifeoma came home from the shop to check on him, she often found him lying down as if he had been working all night. She would scold him, saying, "Chuka, at least sweep the compound or help with something." But Chuka always had an answer. He would smile lazily and say, "Ifeoma, don't disturb me. I was about to sign a contract in my dream. In that dream, I was talking with the richest man in Nigeria. Please, let me finish it." The neighbors laughed every time they heard him. One woman in the compound, Mama Chinyere, liked to joke, "If dreams paid money, Chuka would be richer than everyone in this street." Chuka never stopped giving excuses for not working. Ifeoma begged him to join her in the shop or at least learn a trade, but he always refused. "Me? Chuka the Great? Learn a trade? Impossible. Do you want people to say that my wife is the one feeding me? I am a man of destiny. My breakthrough will come soon. Just wait." But the only thing that ever broke through was Ifeoma's back, because she carried all the family's responsibilities alone. One hot afternoon, their landlord, Babatunde, came to collect rent. Ifeoma was still at her shop, so Chuka opened the door. "Chuka, where is the rent money?" the landlord asked. Chuka cleared his throat and said confidently, "You see, the way things are in this country, times are hard. But don't worry, I have a big business plan. Once the right person signs it, I will pay you." The landlord stared at him and then burst into laughter. "Chuka, if laziness was a job, you would have retired with pension by now. Tell your wife to pay me, or I will throw both of you out." That evening, Ifeoma returned home tired, carrying bags of bread and milk. She saw the landlord outside, shaking his head and fanning himself. She knew immediately that Chuka had embarrassed her again. As she entered the room, she dropped the bags and shouted, "Chuka, why did you tell the landlord that story again? Instead of asking him to wait for me, you were here talking about big business plans. When will you stop this?" But Chuka did not look worried. He was lying on the bed, toothpick in his mouth, as though he had just eaten a great feast. "My dear wife, don't stress yourself. Do you know the kind of destiny I have? Great men don't rush. I am only waiting for the right time." Ifeoma clapped her hands in frustration. "Oh God, what did I do to deserve this? Every day it is dream, vision, destiny. When will destiny cook food for us? When the landlord throws us out of this house?" Their loud arguments became so common that neighbors gathered by the window in the evenings just to listen and laugh. Some even placed bets on who would win the fight of the day. Chuka with his sweet excuses, or Ifeoma with her endless complaints. Even the children in the compound knew they could watch free drama every evening in that house. One day, Ifeoma's friend Ngozi visited and said kindly, "My sister, do not kill yourself for this man. He will not change. Look at you, you are becoming thin. You work every day from morning until night, and yet your husband is here telling stories." Ifeoma sighed. "Ngozi, I still love him. I believe one day he will change and become the man I married." But deep inside, she was tired. She had been carrying the family alone for too long. The final straw came one evening when she returned home and saw Chuka drinking beer with his friends inside their small room. Empty bottles covered the floor. She stood at the door, shocked and angry. "Chuka, is this why I suffer myself every day? I work so hard in the shop and you are here wasting the money with your friends?" Instead of apologizing, Chuka raised his glass and said proudly, "Cheers to destiny. Don't worry. One day we will shock the world." That night, Ifeoma cried quietly on her bed. She had reached her limit. She whispered to herself, "Enough is enough. One day I will shock this man, and he will finally learn that laziness never pays." The neighbors heard her crying but did not understand what she meant. But Ifeoma already knew in her heart that a big change was coming, and that was how the story of the lazy husband began to turn. The months that followed were different for Ifeoma. She had reached her breaking point and promised herself that she would no longer live under the weight of her husband's laziness. She woke up earlier than ever, sometimes before dawn, and returned late at night. She saved every little profit she made from her provision shop. She learned new ways to attract more customers, and soon, people from other streets came to buy from her. Quietly, she began to expand. She rented a bigger shop by the roadside where more people could see her goods. She stocked cartons of noodles, bags of rice, tins of milk, and every item a family could need. Her shop turned into a mini supermarket. All this time, she said nothing to Chuka. She simply told him she was managing, while she carefully kept her real income hidden. Chuka, meanwhile, remained the same. He woke up late, gossiped with neighbors, and walked around the compound as if he had no care in the world. Whenever Ifeoma returned home late at night, carrying heavy loads on her head, he only asked, "Where is my food?" He never asked how she was coping. He never asked what she had eaten during the day. He never thought of her sweat or her sacrifices. He only lived each day believing that one miracle would suddenly make him rich. But Ifeoma's miracle was already here. It was her own hard work. One afternoon, about a year later, a neighbor told Chuka something that made his jaw drop. The neighbor had gone to the main road and saw a newly painted shop with a large signboard that read, "Ifeoma Provisions and Supermarket." At first, Chuka laughed. "That must be another Ifeoma. It cannot be my wife. How will she get money for that?" But curiosity pulled him to the roadside. When he got there, he froze. There was his wife, standing behind the counter, arranging goods with the help of 2 young boys she had employed. Customers crowded the shop. She was smiling, collecting money, and giving change like a true businesswoman. Chuka's face turned red. How could she do this without telling him? How could she grow so much while he knew nothing? He stormed into the shop and shouted, "Ifeoma, what is going on here? How dare you open this place without informing your husband?" Everyone turned to look. Customers, neighbors, and even passers-by stared at him. Ifeoma remained calm. "Chuka, lower your voice. This is my shop. I worked for it." "Your shop? There is nothing like your shop in marriage. Whatever belongs to you belongs to me. Do you hear me? As your husband, I demand you hand over the key of this shop to me right now." Ifeoma shook her head slowly. "No, Chuka. I built this with my sweat, with nights of hunger, with days of carrying heavy loads while you slept. This belongs to me. You cannot claim what you did not build." Chuka's eyes burned with anger. "So you are now challenging me? You are now showing disrespect? We shall see about this." He stormed out, but the shame of that scene followed him home. Everyone began to whisper. Some laughed at him openly. So, his wife is the man of the house after all. The fights grew worse. At night, he shouted. During the day, he sulked. Ifeoma no longer argued back. She simply worked harder. She started building a small 2-bedroom bungalow in her father's village. She used her profits carefully, buying cement little by little until the walls began to rise. By the time the roof was placed, she had already prepared her way of escape. One Saturday afternoon, things exploded. Chuka confronted her again in the compound. Neighbors gathered quickly, as they always did when the couple quarreled. "You are a disgrace, Ifeoma," he shouted. "You are my wife, but you are acting like a stranger. You think you can grow wings and fly past me? Never!" Ifeoma stood tall. She had had enough. "Chuka, let us stop this nonsense once and for all. If you want, let us call everyone. Family, neighbors, even the landlord. Let me say it in the open today." The landlord, who was sitting in front of his room, quickly agreed. "Yes, let us settle this matter today. Everybody, come out." Soon, the compound was filled with neighbors, and even relatives who had heard of their troubles came. Chairs were brought out. Men and women sat in a circle. Chuka sat with his chest pushed forward, waiting for his wife to tremble. But Ifeoma did not tremble. She stood in the middle of the gathering, cleared her throat, and spoke with a voice full of strength. For years, I have carried this marriage alone. I wake up early, I work all day, and I return home late at night. I pay the rent, I buy the food, I clothe us both. I have begged Chuka to find work, but he always refuses. He says he is waiting for destiny. Tell me, elders, can destiny pay school fees? Can destiny pay hospital bills? Can destiny put food on the table? Murmurs rose around the circle. People nodded. Some clapped softly. She continued, her eyes full of tears. When the landlord came for rent, it was me he met. When hunger knocked on our door, it was me who answered. And now, by the grace of God, my little shop has grown. I have built something with my sweat. Yet, instead of being happy, my husband demands to control it. Tell me, is this fair? The landlord spoke first. My daughter, you have spoken well. A man who refuses to work should not eat from another person's sweat. An elderly uncle of Chuka added, Chuka, you have disgraced us. A man who sits and waits for miracles while his wife suffers has already failed as a husband. You should be ashamed. The compound erupted with agreement. Neighbors clapped. Some shook their heads in pity. Chuka lowered his face, unable to meet their eyes. That night, Ifeoma packed a small bag. She called her friend Ngozi to help her move. When Chuka asked where she was going, she looked him straight in the eye. I am going to the house I built with my own hands. You can stay here and wait for destiny. He stared at her, shocked. You built a house? Without me? Yes, she said firmly, without you. Because while I worked, you slept. While I suffered, you laughed. I will no longer carry you. Laziness has destroyed this marriage. She left that night, and true to her word, she moved into the small bungalow she had built. She continued to grow her business. In time, she became respected in the community as a woman of strength and success. Chuka, on the other hand, remained in the compound, mocked by neighbors, avoided by friends. He became the example parents used to warn their children. Do not be like Chuka. Laziness destroys a man. He often sat alone in the evenings, staring into space, regretting his wasted years. But regret could not change the past. And so the lesson stood clear for everyone to see. Laziness does not pay. When a man refuses to work, he not only loses his respect, but also risks losing everything he loves. Laziness never pays. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.